and then there's late night drinking whiskey with your mates and throwing darts at the dartboard and be like, who the hell is going to be well received this year?
That's how we're more of a dartboard and whiskey guys.
That usually wins.
Calendar plan guys.
Yeah. And we're maybe a month, maybe that might be too far in advance, but we try to plan things.
Well, Liberati, shout out to our friends over here at In a Beer. They have been slaying it and have been keeping in contact with us and invited us in today. So we do want to give a shout out. They obviously are pretty packed tonight, so we appreciate them squeezing us in. It's probably this dank-ass happy hour every weekday, 4 to 6. Don't be shy to come in here. You get a fucking drink, 2 appetizers, $7. I don't care if you're the homeless guy down the street. This is banging deals. So don't be shy to come down to Rhino, Liberati, Osteria, Inna Beers, and Casual Italian. That's a perfect segue, Chris. You know what's next?
Yes.
Oh, wait. We did forget one thing. Sorry. But speaking of cheap deals, what is your favorite under $10 meal you can get in town?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I know it's hard to find one of those these days.
It is hard. I've been getting
hipsters.
I've been getting a couple deals down at the new Zeppelin building.
Okay.
There's a couple of food stalls down there. There's some good stuff.
Shout out to Justin Croft.
Yeah, that's a cool setup.
All right.
That's about it.
Yeah, and I think we had someone recently say the same thing, that Bon Ami fucks down there.
Yeah,
and it's price point is very friendly and cost friendly. So.
I think Liberati is going to take that under $10 beer and meal now. Like,
I'm blown away by
spread.
this place.
It's very hard that you can find an alcoholic beverage to go along with some food for under $10.
More or less, too. So shout out to our friends at Liberati.
There we go.
They should sponsor this every single week. We'll talk with Alex. Thank you again, Alex, for having us. We'll talk with Alex because that feels like a segment that they could definitely pay us $10 for. All right, Chris, this is you, brother.
All right, this is all fun.
I added one. If you see it right there in that gapper.
I do see that.
There you go. He's an East Coast guy, so it may play.
All right. So this is kind of like a fun little thing we call rapid fire. It's to try to loosen the load, lighten the whatever. But basically,
wait, who loosens loads? That's gross.
I don't know what.
This is a family-oriented thing, you pervert.
All right, it fucks. Yeah. So, anyways, I'm going to we throw 2 options at you. It's this or that. First thing that comes to your mind, you choose. All right. So I'll start it off.
You and Littman can run it.
All right. Here we go. I'll start it off. All right. Here we go, Scott. Coffee or espresso?
Coffee.
Vodka or gin martini? Vodka or gin martini?
Vodka.
Ooh.
Thick or thin crust pizza?
Thin.
Dead or fish?
Dead.
There we go.
Mountains or city?
Mountains.
Colorado or Tahoe?
Pass.
We always get the pass one on there. We throw out a sensitive subject.
We ask the tough questions.
It's obviously Colorado, but I love Tahoe.
Tahoe's amazing.
Yeah. Weed or beer?
Beer.
Another hard question. Drums or no drums?
No drums.
Ooh.
I didn't think we were going to hear that.
Breakfast or dinner?
Dinner.
Tacos or burgers?
Tacos.
Frozen margarita or margarita on the rocks?
Rocks.
And I'll add one here just as the last part. The Fillmore or the Ogden?
Fillmore.
There you go.
All right.
And I want to say something about the drums thing. Okay. What came to mind was a drum circle and everybody playing at the wrong time, or a late night jam with some great players that the guy comes into that he's hammered and he starts to play the hand drum completely off time and kind of wrecks the jam. So that it's funny because that's where my brain was going to on the drums.
You were thinking more amateur drum.
Yeah,
drum.
like in that scene,
Well, to be honest, you did a lot better than our last guests, who wouldn't even answer the fucking questions correctly. Like Popeyes or KFC?
I have to go KFC.
All right, well, we'll just edit that out.
Yeah, we'll forget that ever happened.
They gave us a third-party answer, and I'm like, well, this is not how this works. But, this or that, and then they say these, and then it throws a real wrench in it. But you did really well. You passed.
Oh, cool. Nice.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And I feel like our next question the Stoned Appetit question is perfect because you've got a 5-year-old stepdaughter or daughter. And so I know you've got to have goodies around the house, like pantries filled with stuff. So you get home late, you've had your fair share of fun that evening. What's your go-to meal when there's what are you craving late?
A little bit
night?
high, maybe a drunk, whatever it is.
Oh man,
yeah.
late
Guilty
night
pleasure.
Food. I'm actually a big fan of leftovers, and it's great having the future wifey cook so well because there's always some great shit in there. So I'll just go in and grab whatever has been prepared, no matter what it is that I don't have to deal with, and just take it out. And I usually eat it cold.
Whoa, that may be a little pre-crime. We're big
hungry.
fans of Minority Report. You don't even throw it in a tortilla, like a soft. We need to start asking flour or corn.
I do that a lot too. Yes.
Yeah. Tacos made out of chili, and then Cool Ranch Doritos. Maybe an apple.
Just kind of potpourri of whatever's in there, throw it in, and throw it in a bowl or in a burrito.
I love it. Potpourri is a new term that we're going to start using on a regular. Just congeal all that shit. I love it.
See, I was hoping to hear some Gushers or some ice cream sandwich bars.
Do y'all keep anything like Gushers or Fruit by the Foot, fruit roll-ups in the house? She may be a little young at 5.
The fam's super healthy. She's really all about sourcing and finding products that are amazing. And I guess when you're feeding a child, you start thinking a whole lot differently. And so I've kind of gotten the advantage on that side because I get to start eating a whole lot healthier and the food that's laying around. Our fridge it looks like the farmer's market, man. There's it's just piles of leafy greens and
that sounds like Chris's side
all
of the
types
refrigerator.
of good stuff in there. But locally sourced, she'll always buy whatever we can find that's produced locally or by people that are producing it locally. So
that's right. Yeah. Do we have any farmers we want to shout out? Secondly, there's got to be some unhealthy stuff at the farmer's market. You can get honey in a cube or whatever. Just really jacks you up.
There's pastries all over the place at farmers markets. You're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will add, I'm a huge fan now of the Vermont maple syrup. It's kind of been reintroduced to my life. So a little late night time, sometimes she's got some pancakes that are left over. You throw them in the toaster and throw some Vermont maple syrup on there, and you are good to go.
Like Oh My Eggo?
Yes.
Do you make Sammys out of those? Ever use them as a vehicle? Maybe throw a little leftover chicken and then some honey and our Vermont maple syrup. Tell me about, does Vermont's maple syrup compete with that of the Canadians?
Oh, absolutely. It's the best.
There's a huge heist. A couple years ago in Vermont, that was millions of dollars.
People are hardcore on it. I wasn't in Vermont a lot as a kid in the summer, so I didn't really understand the culture of the sugar season. But we're actually throwing an event back in Stratton, Vermont this April to go back and say thank you to the community. We're doing it during sugaring season, where everybody's got this it's like a handmade shack up in the woods where they boil down the sap and they produce the syrup, and it's surrounded by whiskey bottles and shit gets crazy.
Yeah, that's moonshine. That's not.
It's very similar.
It's not sugar.
It sounds like Kentucky.
Yeah. Are you sure you're not in Appalachia?
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. So I'm excited to go back and experience the full, wrath of the sugar season and bluegrass picking and spring skiing and cold beer. I mean.
There you go.
Damn.
Didn't mean to get you all fired up.
Up.
I know they asked dead or fish, but I mean, is the wifey, or soon to be wifey, is she a fish girl?
She likes fish. She's not. I wouldn't say a dedicated fish fan, but she likes fish a lot.
All were. Everybody.
No. She's in the middle, which is cool. And I have nothing against fish. I just never knew fish. I have a great deal of respect for how those guys play because it's insane. I toured with the Dead, and then when Jerry passed, may he rest in peace. It was a big gap that I just preferred to have open space fill.
God damn it! Let's take a moment of silence. All right, and that brings us into our next segment. This is going to be the dumbest question of the night, but probably the one that our listeners love the most. And my first question is, do you believe in dinosaurs?
Absolutely.
Hell yeah. And if you were a dinosaur, what kind of dinosaur would you be?
I would definitely be a pterodactyl.
Yeah, and why?
So I can fly all around and just pick shit off and eat wherever I wanted to.
Fuck yeah.
Nice.
They eat fish, they eat meat, and they eat greens, man.
And they fly.
And not to mention, spectacular.
And I want to note that when you first asked, do you believe in dinosaurs? I believe you're the first person to really, it was affirmative. Like,
it was very,
some people,
the emphasis was there, like, if you don't, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
I do agree. Thank you for being so emphatic about one of our most passionate subjects, as well as our favorite question we ask every week.
Well, Kip, I think everyone else probably after about 30, 45 minutes, like, is this kid still for real?
Yeah, man, we are very for real about dinosaurs.
Yeah, I agree.
You guys have got to come with me. I have a side company called Adrift, which is a company that takes paddleboarders and rafters through Dinosaur National Monument. So each year, I take a paddleboard crew, and we bring music, we have beer, we float for 5 days down one of the last wild rivers in Colorado, the Yampa, and through Dinosaur National Monument, and we see fossils and feel the vibe of the ancient times.
All right, sounds like a field trip. Let's go.
Oh, it's on. Podcast from the river.
We need to
get out waterproof.
There. We gotta find our non-believers and take them on this journey.
Yes,
that is true. We have asked this question to about 20 or so guests, and you're not the first. I too am a pterodactyl. The flying and then the eating of the seafood really gets me. But we are really passionate about evolution, and we can't wait to meet someone that doesn't believe in it, and we just haven't yet, but we really get emphatic about it every week, hoping like when someone stalls and looks at us weird as if maybe they don't believe. So we just weren't sure, but you really hammered home how much you love dinosaurs.
Oh yeah.
And then you backed it up with this badass vacation I just got invited to that I'm going on.
Yes.
Dibs.
Done.
Yep. So we do have 2 questions left, but we'll kind of wrap it up. Chris, do you want to ask either of them? We hadn't asked the last ones in a couple of weeks. Do you want to ask one?
Yeah, we really haven't done one.
Yeah, let's do it.
I guess there's this hot seat kind of thing we do. So since you've joined us on this podcast and you've had a freaking blast, who would you recommend we reach out to and try to? Who's a mover and shaker in the community we need to get out?
Who do you hate so much that they should sit in this chair behind you?
Or love,
man,
because you've had a blast.
Gosh, I think you should highlight some of the women in the scene that have just done some incredible work throughout this movement. Whether they're players like Bridget Law, or someone like Megan Letts who works in the industry and also is a musician. Girls that are really like pushing the envelope in which was once a man-dominated world and like really shining, and those are the folks I choose to surround myself with on my team. So I think they'd be incredibly insightful to have on the podcast.
Hey, you're only as smart as those that you surround yourself with. So that's shout out to Bridget Law and Miss Megan Litz. Is that
Megan
correct?
Letts, yeah.
Yeah. Well, ladies, y'all will be getting a text message /DM from us. And yeah, hopefully you would join us on this podcast. It's not as bad as it seems. We're very casual and we pick up the tab. So, you can't really complain about that. So.
It's awesome. It's been an incredible experience. So grateful to be on the show.
Hey, Scotty, we want to thank you so much. We want to thank our sponsors. We want to thank our host, Liberati Asteria. But we also want to thank you so much for, kind of living out your passion and putting everything you do everything you love into what you do. And so we're excited about Winter Wondergrass this weekend. We feel that, it's the best is yet to come. So every year it kind of seems to one up the year before. So we're looking forward to this weekend. We hope our listeners are too. And again, if you're looking for tickets while it may be sold out strictly on one site, you can go to Light, which is through the Winter Wondergrass site, and still find tickets. The 3-day pass may not be available. It very well may be at this time. But at the same time, you will definitely be able to at least find a fair market value for day passes for this weekend in Steamboat. But again, we do want to thank you for taking the time to join us, as well as thank you to all of our sponsors and your sponsors. We will be tagging them in all these posts. So we appreciate it. Let's go rock our dicks off this weekend.
Nice. Thanks, guys.
Hey, did you?
Yeah, thanks, Scotty.
Until next week, we say...
Party in the wintertime.
Party in the wintertime. Stay thirsty, stay hungry. Cheers.